lashes on, but they're not my eyelashes.
Got my friend. That's
What's
good
good?
stuff.
What's good, bird? What's good?
Oh man, that's. But you
British,
know
get
what?
at me, bird.
When you have a beanie on and you have long hair, I think that is mandatory that you have some type of wings coming out from the edge.
Those are
I don't know if
eyelashes. Get
that's
at
the
me,
thing
girl.
where it signifies to other beanie wearers that you are in agreement or what.
Right?
Hold on, I'm going to share this link to the group and to the page.
Get excited.
Yeah, like I was saying, I set up some I was kind of messing around with camera angles and whatnot,
Yeah.
and got an old camera in here, and so I decided to set up
Oop.
a behind the scenes angle. So yeah, I'm gonna try to
Ooh.
I'm gonna try to bust that out. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Let me get this shared real quick.
Oh yeah, let's.
Ah.
There we go. All right. Yeah. So yeah, I freaking got this extra camera angle. It's kind of like maybe a behind the scenes per se. And it kind of like gives you an alternate view of what's going on. So that way we're getting that real podcasty feel going on. You know what I'm saying?
Fancy. Oh, look at that
We've been
pipe. Is
doing
that
some
clean?
things. Got a little mood lighting coming off the computer there.
Nice.
But
Did
yeah.
you share this to the Facebook?
I shared the links.
Okay.
And that way we'll freaking when we chop it up, we'll drop blurbs onto Facebook.
Okay. Me share as well.
I went and talking to first with the graphic designer. The graphic designer, I was talking to him. I didn't know he was a graphic designer. Was talking to him for a little bit, and I helped him fix his audio issue, because you know how our audio is always like echoey and stuff like that.
Well, mine is fine. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, you've got an in-house sound engineer.
Let's not put we into this. Let's slow our roll there, buddy.
I hear that. Oh, there we go. Let's bring you up a little bit. There.
So yes, how our audio is always fucked up. Yes.
But I was able to fix some of his audio issues, because he's having the same issues that we are with the echo and stuff like that. And it's simple fix, but he actually was able to freaking, in return for that, he gave me a super cheap discount on creating some characters for the stream and for the channel.
Nice. So, are you talking about emote?
No, they're actual character. So they're like, and they're based on. He watched a couple of our videos in our podcast, and he just based them off of that.
So, are they like characters you can type into chat?
Hold on. They're actually.
Did he size them, or like? Are they animated, or like?
They're animated. They're animated GIFs. I'm digging them. He's got one smoking a joint, one laughing, one running, one dancing.
So you're telling me that I have a character of myself somewhere?
No, he made me one. He's one on vacation, and he's getting ready to do yours now. But I wanted to talk to you first, because I didn't want you to think there's some weird guy creeping on your page and who's this guy in chat? You say you're making an image of me? Great.
I would totally be freaked out by that. So thank you. That is
I wanted to check with you first, because he's like, oh, I'll do her up. I said, don't, because she knows that there's creepy people on the internet. Let me talk to her first.
Honestly, I don't mind if people creep on me. It's a compliment at my age.
I hear you.
I got asked today if I had a boyfriend, and I was like, no, I don't, because I'm married, but thank you. I appreciate your interest at my age. That is a compliment.
Yeah, don't call us. We'll call you.
Thank you. Thank you for being sweet.
And
thank you for liking all this I'm putting out.
We actually got a great connection today with a YouTuber based in Russia.
Weird and awesome.
Well, he's been on YouTube for about at least 12 years that I know of.
Oh shit!
What's he doing? To make an amazing story that nowadays, probably in the last 6 years, he doesn't really talk about on his channel.
Oh.
He lives in Chelyabinsk, Russia, and he
Chelyabinsk?
Yes. He said it's one of the most ghetto places in Russia. He said, picture Soviet block apartments, but just more than you can imagine.
Ugh.
And he
Okay.
said, hey, you know what?
A home is a home.
He started making GTA videos probably about 10 years ago.
Okay.
But the reason he was making them, not just he made them and put them on YouTube, but he wasn't making them to be a YouTuber. He was making the YouTube videos and doing the voiceover to learn English.
Oh, nice. That's smart.
And that's how he learned English, is making YouTube videos.
I have quite a few Balkan boyfriends.
Yeah, and
Balkan
it's
boys who are friends, my Balkan
yes.
friends who are boys, my
like
Balkan boys who are my friends.
I have a lot of old lady friends.
Mhm.
They're old ladies who are my friend. I play bunco with them.
That's what I'm saying. That's right there.
Oh yeah, but I sent him an email, and well, he started out. His name used to be No Fuckers Bangers until he learned more English, and he realized that he would get demonetized. So now he has shortened it to NFKRZ,
No
and he
fuckers.
normally goes by Roman because I've watched him through YouTube. I've watched him get robbed and have to go to the hospital. I've watched him through YouTube buy 2 different apartments. I've watched him through YouTube. He graduated college in the time I was watching him on YouTube.
That's awesome.
You know, I've seen a whole transformation from when he was like 15 or 16 up until now. It's pretty awesome.
So get to the juicy deets. How did we run into Roman, aka No Fuckers?
Well, what I did is I went and dropped him sent him a message and said, hey, you know what? You know, a lot of crazy stuff is happening in the world right now. You know, I don't know about you, but the news can say whatever they want. I don't have my own news agency, but the best way for me to find out what's going on is to talk to someone that's actually there. And I'd like to interview you and you know, get your take on what's actually happening, because he made a video yesterday that talks about, he's on YouTube. Okay. He's not going to war with anybody. He's not, you know, he's not trying to blow anybody up. He's just a regular dude.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, because think about how the last war the US was in. It's like, it doesn't affect the everyday citizen the same way that the news portrays it. Like, you know, on the news, it's everybody is being bombed and everybody is attacking them. You know, like that's the mindset. That's the sim point. But we know that real life is not black and white. It's gray.
But, you know, because of all the sanctions against Russia, not against him,
right,
but simply because of the place where he lives, you know, all of his monetary income is highly affected. You know, YouTube is still available in Russia. What else? Freaking Instagram has been banned in Russia. You know, his Instagram account probably had a 500,000 followers. You know what I'm saying? You know, and to be quite honest with you, I can see where he's worried about his financial well-being in the future, because all of the ways for him to get paid are cut off. And what
the way
I mean,
that he's been
Google
getting paid,
AdSense,
for sure. Yeah.
Even Google AdSense is giving him a problem. And like his YouTube videos, he's still getting paid, but he can't access any of his money because of sanctions. So
that's right. The online sanctions against Russia. I forgot about that.
His money is still coming in, but he said it might as well be paper, because he said he didn't start making videos to make money, but it is a large part of his income now, because he's been doing it so long. And
I mean, think about it.
I just want to talk to him as a regular person and say, you know what, how is this affecting you? Because he said one day, you know, he was just there, you know, he's not a real sports like guy. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm not a real violent person. You know, I love peace. I'm making YouTube videos, you know, about my daily life in Russia.
He's trying to be an entertainer. He's trying to bring some happiness into the world. He's just a regular person who puts his shit online.
Yeah, he doesn't have a mega yacht docked in Dubai that he's rushing back to Russia. You know what I'm saying? None of all that's over his head until they start shutting down the social media networks. Because even so, he said, let's say tomorrow they opened everything back up. There are businesses that it'll take them 3 to 5 years to go back to Russia, simply because they don't trust Russia.
I don't blame it, and that's pretty shit. I mean, think about the average person, that's
Exactly,
pretty shit.
exactly.
But it's really interesting that you say that, because what I heard from my Balkan friends was that Putin's getting older, he's going through a midlife crisis, and this is his midlife crisis move. But real picture, I think, looking at the world, China is supporting Ukraine against Russia, which makes sense because the superpower doesn't want a superpower to get more super, sure. But
Exactly,
it's
absolutely.
Ukraine, and wouldn't it benefit China to make a bond with the person, a second other largest country? Anyways, what I think the whole focus is that they're looking for nuclear power, because we know that they took over Turkey and that went
Yes,
offline to the Ukrainians, and we're like, I think that was the goal. But what's interesting is why the move now. I think Putin's too smart for a midlife crisis.
I
Why
think
let
so.
everything crumble for emotion?
I think so.
But he also has a giant ego, and egos make
But
people screw up. Look at Saddam.
well,
I
here's the
mean,
thing. Here's the thing. You've got to look back at his background.
mm-hmm,
He is the Russian George Bush, and what I mean is he's he's the ex head of the KGB.
mm-hmm,
He's been president off and on by manipulating the Constitution. He's been the president off and on of Russia for probably 20 plus years.
right.
Now, I don't think I'm not. I don't think politics is a fairy tale thing. For him to have that power in politics, he's got to know what he's doing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He just
Right.
didn't like slip into it and like, I was the president that one time. He said, I've been the president like for 20 years off and on. Matter of fact, the president's
Long
office
time.
is in the secretary of my office.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
midlife crisis, a lot of people are saying that. He's freaking getting older. They're saying that he may be freaking getting a little softer. But to be quite honest with you, I think he's too smart for that. And I think he'd actually, before that would happen, he would freaking take all of his stuff and all of his connections and just retire to somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because up to a year ago, he's a member in good standing of the freaking, of the world leadership,
At
yeah,
least at least it held at arm's length. Good.
exactly. He's just like, okay, you haven't freaking nuked anybody. You haven't, yeah, you're kind of a dick, but we're not going to not invite you to the party. So
Right.
he had a chance then to go ahead and just go off on a beach, drink freaking drinks with umbrellas. And I think he's too smart to know that to do this and throw that all away for nothing, because not to forget, not to dispute, to diminish the Chernobyl disaster. But the other major thing that he captured is he captured the largest operating nuclear reactor in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
in that whole European thing.
Yep.
So not only does he have literally hundreds of pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot, of unaccounted for nuclear material, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But he also has a fully functioning nuclear reactor. And that's going to give him a lot, forget, nuclear bombs, just with that nuclear power production facility, he's going to have control over a lot of that stuff, not to mention that Russia's sitting on some of the largest oil and gas reserves in freaking that part of the world. They
Mm-hmm.
supplied more oil and gas than anybody else in that part of the world.
Mm-hmm. What's
So,
interesting is, if it's not for ego, what is the move for and why? And that to me says something bigger is happening, aka China.
well, see, that's the thing. In
But
this
it's also
instance,
North Korea.
well, see, in this instance, it can only be one of two things. It can only be ego or power. Since we determined that it's not ego, he's going for more power. More
Right.
power, baby.
And speaking of Russian people and them suffering for their leader's decision that I don't know that they could really overthrow if they wanted to, let's, going and boycotting Russian local markets, like people who are Russian and are here in America, is not going to help the cause. So, patriots, you're awesome, but support those people, because they're probably supporting people back home and they need
Well,
that.
the thing
don't
is,
don't boycott the Russian deli down the road, because the food's bomb and you're lucky you have a Russian deli, and
I know, right? I love babushkas. I had to make a t-shirt that says that.
and it's the Russian people who are undermining what is happening in Russia right now, because it is
Absolutely.
was an underground movement within the secret police of the Russian army, or whatever intelligence agency there is over there, The plots to assassinate the Ukrainian president were foiled internally. So
Yes.
Russian people are fighting the power. So and the riots or the protesting, knowing that they're going to get clapped. I mean, come on, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's some balls. People in Russia deserve the kudos. So
Well,
let's not.
and that's the thing. There's a lot of people out there that are saying, Russians, you guys should kill him. And first off, that guy's already a trained killer. Used to be the head of the KGB. It's going to be real hard to get at him. Secondly, if you watch Russian protests on YouTube or TV, you'll notice there's always buses in the background. The reason those buses are there, because as soon as the government has had enough of your protesting, they're going to load everybody on up to those buses, and they're going to disappear to parts unknown, possibly never to be heard from again. It's different to say you should protest in America, where the likelihood of something happening, as long as you're cool with the police, the likelihood of something happening in a peaceful protest is very small. Now, they're protesting in a different atmosphere, where if you're protesting, you're going to go on a list. I can't tell you how many Russian activists are disappeared at this particular moment. You know what I'm saying? So when's the last time you heard of it?
Just like China.
When's the last time you heard of, the American government disappearing an American activist or one of these guys with the militia groups or something? Have you ever heard of them being disappeared? They'll kick down your door and shoot you in the face, but they won't disappear you.
Oh, well, we're here for happy vibes. So, how was your week? I'm super pumped about having a caricature. What have you been doing in the garden?
Oh man, I've been hustling in the garden, but I still have to, we might have to space out our things a little bit more, because I'm still getting a little bit of bug activity in there, because once I hit it up, what I did, I sealed everything up and I waited like 48 hours just to make sure. And then what I did is I put basically those sticky bug traps in there.
Okay, right, because you're having trouble getting the diatomaceous earth. Okay.
So what I did is the pest control guy told me that's the easiest way to check for bugs, is go through a regular light cycle and put that sticky trap where you think bugs are going to appear or where you've had problems with them. And that will tell you. Yeah, that'll tell you, if you have traffic. So we did the diatomaceous earth, and we still had some bug traffic in there. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not really a perfectionist, but my intent was to get as many bugs out of there as possible and kill them.
For sure.
But he said one of the bonuses is now, if there's any eggs that I didn't get to, those will also start their life cycle, and they will be able to, because there's still diatomaceous earth swirling around in there.
Right.
So I think what I'm going to do is I did some wiping down in there today, did some vacuuming in, did some general house cleaning, to get the excess dust and dirt, wipe some lights down. But I'm actually going to run diatomaceous earth in there again, just to make sure, and then put my sticky trap down to check it, because I caught, in a 48-hour period on that sticky trap, I caught something like 40 or 50 bugs. For my taste, in a 5x5, that's 50 too many.
That's a lot. That's a high concentrate. Like 1 or 2, like maybe it'd be chill, but for 50?
But see, that's the thing, because there's nothing else in there, and the little traps have this little, I don't know if it's a scent oil or whatever, but they have that stuff on there, and it attracts the bugs. Since there's nothing else in there, 90% of the bugs will go to it. So I got rid of a lot of bugs just by doing that.
Nice.
But just to be on the safe side, I'm going to run some more diatomaceous earth through there and freaking see what it does. And even now, I think if I put a sticky trap out, I'd probably only catch 5 or 10 bugs. But I want to take this opportunity to just go ahead and make double sure.
For sure. So next steps for getting the plant back, because I mean, you had to destroy an entire crop.
Yes.
Are you looking at sprouting seeds? Are you going to start from beans? Are you going to start from clones? Do you still have plants to clone right now, or is that?
Well, I don't have any plants to clone, because I cleared my whole thing out. In the interest of trying to best eradicate the pest. And I have a couple local dispensaries I can get clones from. Okay. And I also have some beans from one of our group members. Shout out to Chris Duty. He sent me some beans that I want to focus on sprouting this time. Now that we have a clean slate, it's the perfect time to sprout them. And we're going to video document the whole process. I don't know if you guys have been tuning in on Thursdays, but normally on Thursdays we have a garden walkthrough.
Thursday garden update.
Yeah, and it'll show you our 4x4 and our 5x5, show you what's going on in there, what's happening, and what happened during that week. And it's just a simple way to just open up, and as we walk through the garden, if any questions pop into your head about what we're doing, you can leave them in the comments. You can send us to us on Facebook Messenger. You can DM us. So yeah, it's just to get the conversation started and show you what we're doing.
Right. So for someone like me, how do you pick clones when you go to a shop or a friend or wherever, somebody who's willing to donate or you can purchase from, right?
Exactly. And the biggest and best is the first and foremost thing you need to know about clones is it doesn't matter where they come from, but the first inspection that you need to do.
Do you mean it doesn't matter where it comes from on the plant, or it doesn't matter where it comes from in location wise?
It doesn't matter where it comes from in location.
Okay.
But there's a couple of things you're going to want to do initially to tell you how well your clone is going to perform. The first thing you want to look at is you want to look and see if there's any wilted leaves or burnt leaves on that clone.
On the clone or the plant?
On the clone, because we're picking up a clone. We're getting it from wherever. We're assuming it's already in a red plastic cup or it's already rooted. We're just assuming that we have a clone now. We have 8 people that have clones. How do we determine which clone is right for us?
I think the uncomfortable part would be if you looked at the clone and you had like hey, yeah, I'm going to come by and check out some stuff. And then you're like, nah.
No.
How do you let down somebody and say that's not good for me?
A true grower that wants to improve their craft and ensure that they're putting out the best cannabis is going to actually welcome any and all comments or advice that you can offer, as long as it's fact-based and objective. Just because they're growing something that you don't like the taste of, they don't care.
Right.
But if you're alerting them, like I had a guy last week, he showed me some of his clones, beautiful clones. He pops them out, and first thing I do is I look for wilted leaves, and the wilted leaves can always be fixed. They can be trimmed, but what it hints at is an unhealthy clone.
Unhealthy clone or unhealthy genetics.
Or improper care and feeding.
See, that's why I was wondering if you're looking for damage or issues mother plant, or if you're looking for issues specific clone, because I feel like the overall health of the actual mother plant also speaks to what's going to happen in the future with the clones, maybe, but it is also like personal grower preference too, right? Or personal grower attributes or how somebody's taking care of their mother plant. But I mean, if there's like disease, wouldn't you want to know? Because couldn't you get like a good clone off a potentially diseased plant, and couldn't that potentially transfer?
Well, that brings up the second most used time for clones. Not only are clones used for starting new gardens, but clones are used for saving phenotypes and genotypes. So
okay.
If you have a super bomb plant that you've had a mother of it for a decade and it's awesome and you want to maintain that strain, eventually that mother, something's going to happen to it, whether from grower mishaps or it dying, your power mine, whatever. An easy way to save that genotype or phenotype is to clone it. Now, is the plant going to be healthy? No. That's why you're cloning it. You're cloning it to save that particular strain. Now, in that instance, and like I said, there's a couple different things you want to look for, but depending on your situation is how you're going to react to each thing that you're looking for. You want to look for wilted leaves, damaged leaves, okay, which is not a deal breaker, but you want to take into account, do I want to wrestle with a plant the whole time I'm trying to grow it? So you want to start out with your best possible chance. So the next thing you want to look for is you want to look for bugs. This is where it gets hairy.
Bugs or signs of bugs.
Yeah, whether it be eggs, bug feces, freaking limbs or legs, wings, insects, stuff like that. You want to look for that stuff. And what I always do is I can look at a plant straight on while it's sitting in its pot all day long and not tell if it has bugs. The best way to do it is take that plant in whatever container it's in. And since it's a clone, it's not going to be that big. Put your fingers around the stalk and flip it over and look at the leaves from the bottom. Because 90% of the time, because of how your plant grows, the underside of the leaves is going to offer an insect the best protection and the most food. So that underleaf area is literally a haven for bugs. And that's why I tell a lot of people when I check my plants for bugs, I take my arm and brush up against the stems. So I lift up the leaf. And also, if there's any bugs on there, I stir them up so I can see them swirling around.
Right? White flies, freaking
Exactly.
aphids. I don't
Aphids.
know about spider mites, but definitely
Spider
any.
mite, same. When you do that, either you'll get the little spider mite web or the spider
Mm,
mite actually on your arm because you're bumping them off of the leaf.
interesting. Okay.
It's just an easy way for me to be able to say, yeah, and I do that probably once a day. It's
Mm,
just a easy check, say, yeah, I saw something or no, I did.
right.
It's not,
Okay.
it's not the only way to check for bugs because I only use that once a week when I do an in-depth inspection. But I'm also most plants aren't big enough for you to tip them over. But what I'll do is I'll take those stalks and flex them so I can see what's underneath that leaf
Mhm,
because I want to look real closely at the stalk to
mhm.
see if there's, any type of damage, any type of stress or anything like that.
Well, like with Sea of Green and the spread out one, the stress training, you can have
Low
stocks
stress
split.
training.
Yeah, you can
Exactly.
have stocks split. So, and then like your stock's going to die off slowly, and then by the time you figure it out, it's going to be fucked.
Well, that's the
It's
thing.
gone.
With low stress training, the reason it's called low stress training is you should do it when your plants are tender, when the stalks are tender.
Mhm.
And some people, the word is out on whether you should crack the stalk because cracking the stalk actually causes that stalk to grow stronger and it forces your plant to produce more growth hormone because your plant panics and says, "Hey, I've got something going on. I need to produce more stuff to heal it and continue growing."
You're
As
talking about
opposed,
like the plant chiropractic stuff.
yes, where you're freaking snapping it. And I've seen it work and I've seen it fail. But for me, I generally try to do it when they're still pretty pliable.
Mm. So when you're looking for clones, you're looking for wilted leaves, you're looking for any kind of burn damage, you're flipping them over to check for bugs. Anything else you're looking for?
Yes, I want to look at the medium that they're in, whether it be
Ew.
soil, whether it be rapid rooter plugs, whether it be in rock wool. I want to look at the medium that they're in. And what I mean is, I want to look at that medium that they're in, and I want to see if there's any type of algae or bugs in that as well. Because it's no problem for a grower to produce 20 clones from one plant.
That's
Clones
fair.
normally are produced in bulk. And while they may be bug and pest free when you cut them, when I put them on the rack with 400 other clones, I have 400 other possibilities for something bad to happen to that plant.
Right? Is it coming from other plants? Is it commingling? Is there an
Exactly.
infestation that happened on the plants and then got to the clones? There's all kinds of stuff.
Have I
Transfer.
bought clones? Have I bought clones that had bugs on them? Yes, absolutely. Simply
What
because I'm using my knowledge and expertise to determine if it's something that I can deal with.
right? I could see that. Like taking preference for the genetics if it's a rare strain that you're trying to grow that you
Exactly.
can't get your hands on
Exactly.
versus whatever's happening to it. And then also, is it a discount? Like shit.
Exactly. And
That's
that's
what
the thing.
happens.
I'm fancy. I live in a legal state. I have the freedom to go to my local dispensary and pick out clones.
Right.
Now, some people where it's not fully legal or it's this or that, they don't have that luxury.
Right.
More than likely, they're going to have to know a guy. And you know what? Unfortunately, the clones may or may not be that great, but they don't have a choice.
Right. Got to take what you can. Beggars can't be choosers.
But it also offers a unique opportunity for learning. And
Mm.
what I mean is, I've gotten clones with bugs on them that I haven't seen before, just to see what it takes to control that particular pest.
That's
Now,
interesting. Use it as a science experiment. It's a lot
exactly.
lower risk for a clone than a whole plant.
Exactly. And I wanna be
Sneaky.
prepared if because there's a lot of things I've fucked up a lot of things in grow. I've overwatered, I've underwatered, I've had freaking spider mite breakouts, caterpillars, freaking mold. We had At one point, we had 60 plants in our basement, and they all got freaking PM on every last one of them. But it was
Powdery mildew.
absolutely, it was my
Ooh.
own fault. It wasn't the plant's fault. It was grower error because I
Ooh.
had 60 something plant in about a 20 by 20 area, and I wasn't controlling the humidity properly. So that moisture, because you got to remember, I'm making it the perfect environment for things to grow. It's got airflow, it's got
Right.
light, it cycles regular. So anything that can grow in your grow area will.
Same thing can happen to grass in this. If your grass is too long and bends over on itself before snowfall, if you have that long grass that bends over on itself, it does not help the grass grow. It creates a environment for snow mold.
Yes. And I never heard of that till I moved here.
Till you have snow, you don't know.
And it's one of those things where clones are one of the things that you can uniquely express yourself. And what I mean is there's different different reasons people want clones. There's seeds, of course, but I mostly deal with clones simply because with clones, by the definition, I'm getting an exact copy of that plant. Now, I know two things that are going to save me a lot of time. As opposed to seeds, I don't have to wait on it to germinate.
And if it pops, if it doesn't pop, is it going to be female? Is it going to be male?
Exactly.
Lot of dice being rolled there.
I don't have to go through the quote unquote weeding out process. If I have 12 clones, then by the end of my grow, I'll most likely have at least 10 plants.
So we've looked at all of the clones to determine if they're viable. What is a decent price point if people are looking at
Well,
clones?
I can't. I on the average, you're gonna probably pay from anywhere from 10 to $35.
Okay.
It's
what would be a clone worth $35 to you?
none of them. Absolutely none of them. And let me explain what I mean. Is basically you took a plant and cut a piece off of it and stuck it in soil and grew it.
Okay.
$35? No, because here's the thing. Down in California, I was used to paying $5 to $15 for, a 10-inch clone.
Okay.
A good price for me, good price for them.
Is that a healthy clone or is that like a discounted clone with
That's
bugs?
a healthy clone.
Okay.
That's a healthy clone.
For a buggy one, are you expecting a freebie?
Yeah, most definitely. They'll take a buggy clone in California will be free to you almost every time because no dispensary wants to be known as selling clones with bugs on.
Fair.
But what ends up happening is it's area dependent. If I'm in a state where it's illegal, you're going to be on the upward side of $15.
And exactly what I was going to ask. We have the legal market where you're expecting 5 to 10 to 15 maybe for a clone. And then you have the underground market where, it's dependent on your dealer. It's dependent on what they got going on and what you're willing to shoot for. But still, for underground, what is a reasonable price? 35? Is 35 reasonable?
No, $15.
Okay.
But let me tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
I got sticker shock when I moved to Oregon. I went to a dispensary. I said I need to get 4 clones. He said that will be $100. That's what I said. I said, check this out. Let me get one of those clones, and I'm gonna clone the ever loving shit out of it.
And then I'm gonna sell it at your prices because what the damn hell?
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on that dispensary. I'm not freaking, but
if people are gonna pay it, why wouldn't you charge it?
Exactly. But for the average person, a $25 clone is not ideal. You know what I'm saying? And what I try to do is anytime I buy a clone over $15, first off, I feel like I overpaid. So what I do is I clone that plant and I give it away to as many people as I can possibly find.
You're such a dick.
Well, no. Well, that's the thing. I give it to people because, okay, I'm gonna roll in there. I could have easily afforded those $100 worth of clones because I turned around and bought $150 worth of weed at the same place.
Right.
But the thing is,
it's the principle.
Exactly. There's a lot of people that they're scared to start growing simply because they know, rightfully so, that they're not going to do a great job.
Investing $100 in 4 plants that may or may not take off that you may get half a yield out of that's a lot of
When
cost.
you could just
That's not
go and
even
buy
getting into. It's not
when you
even
could
getting
just go
into
and buy
plants,
$100 worth of weed.
right?
Done deal. We can skip
Right?
over all that. And a lot of the people that I give clones to are people that are interested in growing and would never purchase a clone themselves simply because they can't justify the price to themselves.
Shoulder Devil says that Slizwak is just a petty labelle and his inner Tom Petty is coming out.
A little from
he,
column A, a little from
he,
column B.
he Shoulder Devil says he is just enjoying that little bit of payback.
I do, and that's the thing. People ask me. That's a question I get all the time. Someone will go to a dispensary and say, I saw these clones. They were $20. The first thing I ask them is, have you seen clones any cheaper around there? And because they may
Like the
wherever they,
person you're trying to buy from, you're asking them if they
no, no,
have
no, no,
seen it.
no.
Okay.
No, well, I'll get messages out and I'll get DMs. People hit me up and be like, "Hey, I want to buy clones. How much should I pay?" What I recommend you doing is shopping around. If you're in a legal state, I recommend freaking going. First off, dispensaries don't have clones all the time. They only have them during a lot of times at the beginning of the outdoor grow season, because that's when most people need them. And most outdoor growers or indoor growers they'll get a plant and they'll clone their own stuff anyway.
Right. People who have a perpetual grow are growing indoors when it's not outdoor. So that makes sense. What is the time frame for outdoor grow?
Well, that depends on your region. I am in a super weird region at a high elevation. We're at 4,200 feet. My grow season on paper can be anywhere from 2.5, 3 months to 5 to 6 months, just depending on the weather, because we get such a huge differentiation from night to day. Like today, it was 60 degrees. Tonight, it's supposed to get down to 33 degrees.
Right. I had negative weather last week, and today it was all sunshine and melting snow.
Exactly. And down in California, I got a couple guys I know down in California. They got plants in the ground right now.
Yeah. If the freeze spell is over, I mean, it's already March, almost April. Shoot. Yeah.
They're saying that the freeze is over, and generally where we're at in Kern County, Cinco de Mayo, by Cinco de Mayo we would put plants in the ground.
Right on. You see, I've still got like mad snow that's probably not going to melt till the second week of April. So,
but these are the people that are putting clones in the ground. So normally I would grow my clones out till they were like teens or like maybe a month of vegging, and then I would put them in the ground just to harden them up because the sun is so brutal in Kern County.
Yeah. The previous grow spot, so to speak.
Yes. At the old GST World Headquarters, formerly known as the Mobius Group. You laugh, but that was our old corporation. We used to have a corporation out of Nevada. That was our old corporation, the Mobius Group. That's what ran the delivery service, the dispensaries, the laundromat, the cigarette store, all that shit.
Back in the day, all the stuff.
The before times.
Oh, my Lanta. Which is hilarious because Mobius full on suits you.
Well, just think. One day you're going to be able to pull out your Sherlock Holmes vape pen and tell your kids how. I remember when there was no coronavirus.
I want a Sherlock pipe so bad, but the maintenance on those things is like way more cleaning than I have to do right now. As we speak, I am on like a 3-to-1 ratio for cleaning my glasses compared to my silicone pipe. Okay. And I'm already looking to order more glass so that I can extend that. Because I'm lazy. I'm lazy AF.
Let me do a little mini commercial.
Okay. Oh, not prepared.
Soon, everybody, for those that are interested, once we can figure out the logistics, we'll have these small silicone glass pipes for sale to support the cause. Very simple. Probably about a 3 or 4 inch pipe, silicone, all food grade, with a glass bowl and a little freaking cleaning tool on the bottom.
Cleaning tool, packing tool, turning over your bowl tool so you can burn it all the way.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I love smoking out of mine. I've been smoking out of it for the last probably 4 months or so. And one thing that I was concerned about is with silicone, there's closed cell silicone and there's open cell silicone. Open cell silicone that's not food grade will melt and leak off
Fumes,
BPAs.
the bad.
Yeah, so which is actually a toxin. So as you're heating that up, it's releasing poison and you're inhaling it. And I wanted to freaking run some testing with this pipe. And when I say testing, I mean I just wanted to smoke a bunch of weed out of it to see if it was going to change over time, and also check about the cleaning and stuff like that. And I wanted to see if that silicone was going to degrade or burn through or do anything else that was crazy before we actually started putting them out. And what do you think of yours?
I love mine. I actually have bought one that is like almost identical before from a shop here, and they told me it was dishwasher safe. They said, "Oh, just throw it in the dishwasher, and then you just it'll be all clean." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try this out." Bold-faced lies. That is not how you clean it.
Absolutely not.
Because it was my first silicone one. I'm like, that makes sense, right? You know, you put your plastic in and things, and absolutely not. Do not do that. Do not trust people who tell you to do that. It's bull honky.
Yes.
It's
Well,
malarkey.
let's say it worked perfectly. It cleaned your pipe. The problem would be the
All the
residue.
residue.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So,
like I said, once we get these set up, we'll have these for sale. They'll support the cause. We'll probably have a short commercial about them coming out shortly. But I just want to take time to tell you guys about that super secret stuff. First time information. Yeah.
The reason why we also do our own weird spills and commercials is not because we're money grubbing. It's because as a cannabis information, cannabis lifestyle, a website, as an information outlet for cannabis, no major like online place that is free is going to give us the opportunity to fund ourselves. So we had to go outside of the AdSense, outside of the YouTube, giving us commercials, that sort of thing. We've had to go outside of that and try and get monetized a different way. So this is how
Absolutely.
we are funding, and it's not like we're making money.
Yeah,
we're just trying to
if we wanted to make
content.
money, we'd be doing something else. Right. Because all the stuff that happens on this channel, the people that support it, you're looking at them on screen right now. And don't get me wrong, we do occasionally have supporters, but we want to be able to find a way to competently support ourselves so we can bring you guys more and better content. That's the goal.
We do not want to have to censor the information that we're putting out, because our goal is to normalize so that you guys can recreate and medicate responsibly. So normalization is information being put out there without having to worry about losing a sponsorship. So we are looking at getting sponsors who will sponsor us, or ways that we can sponsor ourselves and create the information and the content that's entertaining and valuable for you guys. Informational, helpful, so that we can not have to worry about the rug pulled out from under us or having to shut down, because we've already had a lot of instances with shadow banning, with not getting monetized, even though they said we were approved for monetization. It's like, It's like when you're on Twitch, meeting your goals as a creator and then not getting affiliate for like a month, or somebody saying, "Oh, I'm not sure if this content's right," or whatever. Yeah. It's working towards a goal and then having it swept out from under you because the exact message that you're trying to put out there is just something that they don't want to be a part of. Even with all of the legalization, it still sounds crazy. There's still a lot of people out there with all that reefer madness in their brain.
And you know what though? I take away this one thing from it. You know what? I got an email today. A sponsor was evaluating us, said your content doesn't align with our standards. A great content, or a great a great institution, if you will. I'm not going to mention their name. I use them on a regular basis, but to be quite honest with you, our content doesn't align with their platform. Yep. But unfortunately for them, I've had so many dreams crushed. It's just a regular day. So
can't kill what's already dead, baby.
Absolutely. I have learned how to take an L and go about my business. So I used to get all hyped up. I used to be like, rah, 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 rah. But you know what? In talking to other, creators in the cannabis niche, it's just
not just us.
Yeah, it's just par for the course. They're not hating on me. And don't get me wrong. We've never had a potential sponsor or advertiser say that our content is not good. We always, and I don't know if this is part of the standard boilerplate rejection letter, but our content is always mentioned as informative, personable, and freaking educational. And by all the people that we've talked to, the thing is, and like take Skillshare for instance. I use Skillshare all the time. Skillshare is a learning platform. They put out educational material.
Good value for your buck. Bang for your
Absolutely.
buck, 100%, and then some.
And I'm an annual subscriber to them. I'm a subscriber to them so much that they gave me a deal this past year, saved me about half of what I normally pay. But to be quite honest with you, talking about weed and educating people about cannabis doesn't fit their platform because it's not legal nationwide. And a lot of freaking advertisers or institutions, if you will, merchandisers, they don't want to have to add another legal battle to the things that they already have to do. So I'm not hating on them. A lot of them I can understand, but I also want them to know, and sometimes I apply to places where I know I'm going to get rejected. Simply put, because I want them to know that people in our niche definitely use their product.
Right. Absolutely. It's all about normalization, breaking down barriers.
Exactly.
Got to take the fight to where it's uncomfortable and or not wanted.
Exactly. Like there's a podcast platform. I'm not going to mention their name. I knew that they would not allow our content based on their terms of service. I applied anyway. Simply put, because they're going to turn me down. I know that.
There's no saying that it's not going to change in the future either. So even if it's a no right now, there's still something in there, and maybe when they change, they're going to be looking for creators putting out that kind of content.
I also
because it's growing.
I have to give them a reason to want to change their policy. And what I mean is, if they see more and more cannabis content creators applying to their platform, they're going to be like, we just might be losing out on some money here. And eventually, I don't know when. If I could, I would be a millionaire. I don't know when it's going to be nationally legal, but I can guarantee you when it becomes nationally legal, you're going to have a lot of businesses that are going to seriously take a look at their terms of service and what they allow and don't allow. Because
money speaks, just like the squeeze on Russia, money speaks. Money's going to get the doors opened. Maybe it's not for us. Maybe it's for people down the road. But hey, that's cool with us.
People say that, the sanctions on Russia are frickin' this and that. And I don't mean to go in this old freaking nutshell, but the thing is, when they announced sanctions, you didn't see Vladimir Putin do anything. But I tell you this, Russian yachts all over the world cranked up their engines and headed for home. Mm-hmm. So, it means something to somebody. And that's the thing. It was
money matters.
It was enough for them to make a move. And that's what I hope to do eventually to some of these platforms and some of these retailers, that they will see that there's a valid need in our community. And unfortunately, we're not a bunch of deadbeats with no job. We need stuff too. I want to get a discount on your stuff. I'm buying it anyway. I've been buying it for years. Can I get a discount now? And that's, again, one of the reasons why why both of us are trying to get at these retailers, because as our audience, one of the things that we can do for you in return for watching and listening to our nonsense is save you a little bit of money, not on stuff that, on stuff that you already buy. I could sell you a brand new car all day long. But what if I told you I would give you free maintenance on the car that you already own?
Mm-hmm. Right? Something you could use. But that's why we talk about our sponsors. We're not money grubbing. We're just trying to support what we're already doing. We have big ideas, big hopeful future growth plans, but we can't do that without that monetary support. One way or another, we're going to find it.
And we also have regular lives where we got to do regular shit too. So there is that. Because,
all the sponsors
for today.
Yep, all the sponsors that we do, we vet personally, and there are a lot of sponsors that we do. So we do support small business as well when we do sponsorships. So if you guys check it out, just keep that in mind. If not, we're happy to have you and hang out and do all the fun stuff. Definitely not trying to get into your pocket. Definitely trying to just have a good time.
and that's another thing. The reason we don't have telethons freaking begging for your support is because I feel like in return for you supporting us, I would like for you to get something. I would rather you buy something from us, whether it be a t-shirt or something, so you actually get a physical thing in return for what you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we're producing content and you get to watch it. We're going to continue to produce content whether you watch it or not.
True story.
But the people that support us, we appreciate
Shoulder
this.
Devil says, "Get off the stage, you bum."
Yeah. So it's just one of those things.
So
Go ahead.
we got our commercial, we got our stuff, we got our knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone.
Hey-o.
Now, what I want to know about, because we talked about clones, you're restarting your grow. You said you've got some beans from one duty with the booty. So, talking to you, duty, talking to you. What is the process for starting beans? And honestly, like, when should you ideally do that? If you're not restarting a grow, if you don't have a perpetual, when should you be doing beans? What's the process? What are the mediums? There's so much to know about that process as well.
I'm going to say right now, I'm going to say this before I begin. There is any number of ways that you and your grandpappy have started seeds. We're going to talk about one process that I use that works 99% of the time. Or as
a gardener, as a perpetual gardener with it's not grandpappy experience, but it's just general basic gardening knowledge. I feel like cannabis seeds are not equal or the same as regular like vegetable plant seeds or flower seeds when you're germinating plants. I don't feel like it's the same process.
Why not?
I don't know. I feel like cannabis seeds are a little bit different. I feel like...
Oh, no. Cannabis seeds are a little bit different, and people go all out simply because I can go down to Walmart right now and pick up a 50-pack of heirloom tomato seeds going to cost me $2.99. Right. That's $2.99. I can look online from a seed retailer and get 8 seeds for $140. That's why.
So it's value. It's not the process, it's the value.
Absolutely. Alexa, cancel.
Shut up, Alexa. Get your own show. Back up off my shit, lady.
Yeah. And that's the thing. At 50 seeds for $2.99, if half of them don't sprout, I'll go back to Walmart and get some more. But at 8 seeds at 140, yeah, 8 seeds at $140, a little more serious.
A little bit.
and that's
peeky out.
There's so many ways to sprout seed. And to be quite honest with you're right. But the way that you sprout cannabis seed, there's so much more involved because people want to ensure the highest percentage of success.
That makes sense. So it's not, the hype is not that the seeds are different. It's that they're hella expensive and you don't put caviar in some fucking Ritz ass crackers. You're looking for like the pre-planned toast that you're putting on the little rounds and you're like, bougie.
Oh, you know. But just like
these beans are gonna have the best fucking soil made from the cow shit from Kobe beef from the fucking volcanic fed. Yeah, I get it. I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna stop you there. Beyonce should have won. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Ooh. But the same way that your 5th grade teacher sprouted those seeds on the windowsill
in the paper towel,
it's a proven winner. It works, most of the time. But for ease of material and for the ability to repeat it with a high percentage of success, I have found that if I purchase rapid rooter plugs and take 1 or 2 seeds, depending on how many I have available, per plug, take those plugs and soak them in a Clonex clone and seedling solution. Make sure they're all puffed up. Take those 2 seeds and put them in those rapid rooter plugs and frickin' just stand them up on a tray and run the lights like you would regular in your tent. Sometimes I just sprout them out on the counter. But when I do it like that, the container I put them in has a dome on it to keep the moisture in. If not, they're going to dry out.
Well, keep the moisture in and keep the bugs out.
Exactly.
Keep the fucking cats out.
I vent them probably once or twice a day for 30 minutes.
Burp them.
Exactly. And I get on the average a 99%, if not 100% success.
That's pretty fantastic. And I think that also you're looking at that medium because the less you handle your plants as they're growing, the less likely you are to fuck them up while you're replanting
Absolutely.
them, because replanting is required. Unless, and that's possible, you could just sprout them in the medium that eventually they'll grow in. Is that smart?
And you know, some people do that, but because of the stakes are so high, the seeds are so expensive, I take that extra step because I want to be able to individually monitor how that seed is doing. And I got to tell you, while seeds and paper towels work, I'm that guy. Is it sprouted yet? I'll go and check on it like 45 times, opening up the bag, breathing on it, looking at it, be like, are you sprouting yet? And so that's why I have to put it in a container so I can see what's going on without handling. And that way it's the seed itself is gives it a little bit more protection in that rapid rooter. And it also provides a little bit of heat to that seed to freaking kind of jumpstart that process. Now, also, I use a seed starting mat under my plugs when I use a little black tray, a little black clone, a little black plant tray, probably about 18 inches long by 10 inches wide. Put a seedling starter heat mat under it, put my clones, put my seeds in the rapid rooters and put them right in there. Now, a couple of times while they're sprouting, I'll douse those rapid rooters to make sure that they're staying moist. But that will give them a great start to friggin' insulates them from damage so you don't have to handle them. And it gives you a good measure of when to put them into little red cup. And the measure that I use is when I see roots coming out on 3 sides or more.
Okay. So you're looking for the roots to exceed the actual medium.
Yes.
Okay.
And that way I know that the roots at a minimum are established and they're going to, because you don't want them to get too long because the more you touch the roots, the worse they're going to get. So it gives it a little bit more.
It's breakage. It's all kinds of issues. You could be introducing more stuff into it. You could be burning it. You could be all the things. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, the stakes are high. So you're not really concerned about how those tomato seeds, you'll go and throw them bitches out in the ground in the backyard. But weed seeds at freaking $18 a pop. Oh, you better believe they're getting individual rapid rooters.
So if somebody's looking to grow, would you recommend that they look for a friend of a friend whose stuff got seeded out?
No.
Buy that seedy shit?
No. And there's a reason. There's a reason.
Okay.
You know, everybody's had that great bag seed that they grew out and turned out it was super bomb. But it's like getting into the NFL. There's literally thousands of people in high school right now that are crushing records. They're breaking records. They've scored the most touchdowns. But realistically, only 1% of those people even have a chance of getting in there.
Fair.
And what I mean is that seed that
you're talking about genetics.
That happy accident, is highly unstable. Who knows what you're going to get, even if you do get a female. And for me, one of the measures of success in growing is efficiency. When I say efficiency, I don't mean cutting corners. I'm meaning making myself and my activities the most productive and the most helpful for my plant.
And when you're buying seeds, there's 2 different kinds of seeds you can get. You can get regular seeds where you take a 50-50 shot on whether you're getting a male or a female plant. And then there's the autolyze, I forget what it's called. Feminized. There's the feminized seeds where they're treated to try and ensure a female plant. And it's like a 75%, 80% success rate.
So even with the feminized seed, you're still not getting 100% chance of success, whereas with a clone you're guaranteed to get a female plant because as long as you clone the female plant. And that's one of the things for me that, especially as a new grower, instead of starting with seeds, because there's a lot of extra steps that you add when you go with seeds. Now, don't get me wrong, those steps aren't freaking crazy or anything. You just need to separate out the males from the female. And so the plants that you have to keep a super close eye on, because
Yeah.
if you get any males in there, they're going to fertilize all your females, and your crop is at a minimum is going to be all seedy and not produce what you want, and the taste is going to be all blah.
And see, with also you're looking at the potential genetics as well, because you're looking.
Yes.
The reason why I think you would start with seeds or go with a seed instead of a clone is if you can't get a clone of the plant you're wanting to do, and you're wanting to get the plant started, or you're wanting to introduce new genetics. So,
Okay.
because I don't think that you can't crossbreed clones if you're having a female and a female, right?
You can. It's a complicated process, not recommended for beginners.
So so people use clones. Okay. So like professional growers use clones.
Yes.
They don't use seeds to introduce new genetics. They use
They
clones of
do
clones.
use seeds to introduce you new genetics.
Okay.
But
But
when that grower is searching for that particular phenotype of that strain, what they'll do is they'll take 10 seeds. They'll grow those seeds out. Let's assume that half of them are male. I just threw half of those in the shit can. Burp. Now I have 5. Well, I didn't. If I'm searching for a certain phenotype, I did. What I did is I put them to the side.
Mhm.
I cross those plants back to the female to increase the strength of anything that I'm going to produce, to increase the strength of those genetics. Now I grow those plants. I grow some of those plants to fruition and see what their bouquet, if you will, is, what their effects are. Now that I have those plants, I take the best plants, the plants that are closest to what I'm looking for, and keep those. The rest of them I throw away.
I feel like we've gone a little bit down the rabbit hole away from the cloning and the seeds, because that's some advanced science. This is Bill Nye the Science Guy.
What I recommend for your new growers, just for ease of doing, is I recommend that they grab a clone from wherever every single time, because it's gonna especially if this is your first time growing, it's gonna have the least step, and it's gonna require the least expertise.
Okay.
Someone has already done all of the pre-planting work for you. They've screened out all the freaking, make sure you have a male. They've made sure that you have a good strong plant with a good root ball. So a lot of that pre setup is already done when you purchase a clone, and that's the thing that you're looking for there. Because, like I said, you want to be as efficient as possible in your activities concerning your plant, because that's what's going to net you the most return.
Okay. So when you're looking at, you said you're looking at clones, and you're getting clones locally, you're getting clones through people that you know. You're also looking at starting some seeds. What are the DIY tips and tricks for doing that? And while you answer that question, I'm going to put you on the main so I can go grab me a drink.
Okay.
I'm listening, but I'll be right back.
No worries. No worries. So one of the things that I do is it's a DIY, but I go to my local gardening store and see if they have any of those trays that plants come in that I can purchase. 2 reasons. Normally, if you can buy them from them, either they're going to freaking give them to you for free, or they're going to be at little or no cost. If you go right around the corner in the garden center and buy them, they're probably going to be about for a pack of 5, they're probably going to be $3 to $4 a piece. Now, in clone starting, there's not much DIY that I do, simply because you don't need much. One of the main DIY things that you can do is it's super easy to start a clone under a little tiny 18-inch shop light. If you make a little frame for that shop light, you can slide your clone tray right underneath. It makes for an easy light hanger, especially if you don't have a lot of room, or if you don't have your area ready. So for me, when I DIY, I don't really DIY a bunch of stuff for clones, simply because it's only going to take me some rapid rooters, a little bit of cloning solution, and a dome, along with that seedling mat. Those things right there, the seedling mat that I've probably had for 5, 10 years, or no, 5 or 6 years rather. Simply because if you are a perpetual grower like myself, eventually what you'll find, just like anything else that you have as a hobby, over time you accumulate the equipment that is necessary to get the job done. And once you get that seedling mat, and you can get one for less than $10 on Amazon. As you accumulate that equipment, once you buy that seedling mat and that dome, and you have yourself a little starter light, you won't have to purchase it again. And what I mean is, you'll be set up and ready for all of the stuff that you need to do to get ready for clone. Now, I have seen people that have done DIY and used regular sponges that germinate seeds that you would buy at the dollar store. Get a sponge, maybe a 3 or 4 inch long by 3 inch sponge, cut it in sections, maybe 2 inches wide by 2 inches, and take those seeds and push them down in one of those holes and use that sponge to soak up your solution, and you'll be great. Yeah, it's the DIY on in cloning is such that you're only limited by your imagination. If you have something at hand that can do what you need it to do, and it's going to be cheaper or more efficient for you while performing the same task, it always makes sense to go ahead and attempt it to see if it works. Because one thing that you're going to find in growing weed is that there's no shortage of things to buy, and the more you DIY your grow, the more money you'll save in the long run.
So what would you say is your number 5 in your top 5 of DIYs for starting clones and or seeds?
My number 5 would probably be spray bottle.
Ooh, interesting.
Spray bottles are a good way to mist your baby clones without dampening them too much. Like I said, I use a little tray and I pour Clonex solution in the bottom of it.
Okay, so what is Clonex?
Clonex is a company, and they make a thing called Clonex clone and seedling solution.
Okay,
it is probably the number one thing that I have found. It's the best thing that I found that to feed my clones and seedlings. Is a couple of reasons. It's a one-step mixture. I just need 5 milliliters of their liquid and a gallon of water.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a very low, it's not a hot nutrient setup, so it's not going to burn your little baby roots. It's not going to burn your plant. And from what I've seen, it even works better than my what is that stuff I'm using?
I just posted the name in the comments for reference. Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure that if people are interested, they can go back and research that, because I've heard you talk about Clonex a lot. Obviously, I'm still a first-time grower, so it's not anything I've gotten into, but I'm curious, is that readily available? Like, people can Google it, they can get in contact with the company. It's not all crazy.
Clonex is readily available at any local gardening store, because Clonex is a company, but there's 2 things that they concentrate on.
Okay.
Creating clones and creating and feeding seedling. Clonex has 2 main products. The first thing is cloning gel, and we'll get into that at a later date, but the cloning solution that we're talking about now is a simple pre-mix where I can take it and use 5 milliliters of that nutrient solution, add it to a gallon of water, and it will make my clones go absolutely nuts.
So what you do is you pre-mix the solution in that amount, and then you just spray bottle use it?
Well,
because isn't
no.
sitting water not okay?
Well, here's what happened. What I do is I mix that frickin' clone and seedling solution. I saturate my rapid rooters with it. So I put my rapid rooters in there, let them suck up a bunch of that liquid.
Are you talking about like the pucks, the little dirt pucks, rapid rooters?
No, those are the rapid rooters are the ones that are already moist in the bag. Hold on, I'll show you.
Okay. Give me the visual. I have been
normally I wouldn't do this, but I've said it enough times that people are probably wondering what it is, and I just wanted to pull up a picture of it.
Yeah.
Let me do a screen share here.
Because I'm thinking like the dry dirt pucks that you have to like moisten and like then put your seed in them and like plant stuff, right?
Yes, those are peat pellets.
Okay.
And like these rapid rooters here, as you can see, let me make that a little bit bigger.
No, I'm just blind. You're good.
But those rapid rooters, at my local or my local grocery store, it cost me and as you can see, it's about the same price. 50 of them for about $20. They're less than $1 a piece.
Hella cheap. Yeah.
Let me here.
Yeah, highlight the picture so I can see them up close.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really all it is. It's just basically a little bit of composted material that's been formed and that acts like a sponge with a hole in the center.
Okay, so you just drop the seed in there. Oh, let me put this in here. What is it called?
Rapid rooters.
In the comments. Get excited.
And what I'll do is I'll put links to the rapid rooters and the Clonex right directly in the comments when we post this on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll have it in the description when we cut all this and put it on YouTube. So if you guys aren't into watching the whole, meandering, rambling, blah, 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 we do edit it and put it on YouTube. So that is available.
And we will also be now using chapters, so it's easier to find our information. We'll be referencing all of our podcasts with chapters. And we will also have expanded liner notes in the description to give you more of a description as to what's going on.
Boss. No, I'm just kidding.
We're getting there. We're getting there. And that's the thing. It's a journey. We've got some things that we'd like to do, that we'd like to show everybody, and we'd like to freaking put out there. And I think it's going to be great and awesome. Just the knowledge. When I started growing, this knowledge was super taboo. There's no way I could have gone online and learned any type of knowledge like this in any way.
I know the internet's been around a while, and I feel like the internet used to be a lot more Wild West, but there was no like medium like this. There's no way that people were putting this out on YouTube.
Well, see, that's the thing with the advent, with the internet growing up, we've seen more ways to monitor what people are putting on the internet.
Right.
Simply because, the internet got what I like to call Tipper Gore syndrome. And what I mean is
I know what. Walk that back.
Yeah.
For anyone who is not that age, let's explain Tipper Gore as a fucking reference to start with. Let's start there. Tipper Gore. For the people in the back.
She was a politician or lobbyist that started the parental discretion is advised label on record. Mm-hmm. She was one of on records, and now, back in the day on records and tapes, but now on CDs and whatever. But the thing is, the guy that the IC that on Special Victims Unit used to be in a small rock rap band called Cop Killer. He was actually one of the major opponents of the bill that she proposed to put that parental discretion is advised, because of course they found out that that people were talking about murder, killing people, this, that, and the other. And of course you can't let kids get a hold of that, because what about the children?
Because their parents don't talk about that shit constantly when they're driving on the freeway.
Yeah, they just didn't watch a murder mystery on TV. You know what I'm saying? So
was that when they held the Twisted Sister court hearing? If you guys
Dee Snider in Congress,
if you guys have not seen Dee Snider testify before Congress, that shit is phenomenal. Actually, I'm gonna see here. I'm gonna put it in the comments.
Hell yeah, link in the description.
Dee Snider, aka Twisted Sister, testify for look it up. It is gonna blow your mind because it is so awesome. It was epic. It was when people were to the government. Ooh, it was
and
that is an epic moment in music history that you need to know if you listen to music. Shoulder Devil says, "Suck it, watch it."
Well, a lot of people don't know that the same Ice-T that you see playing Detective Tutuola
with Coco, with his baby and his baby mama Coco, with his little
that guy used to be in a
reality television.
Yeah, that guy used to be in a band because what's the thing? What's the extended warranty car insurance that he sells also?
I don't have any kind of ads that I put up with. So what you were saying when you were talking about the Tipper Gore treatment is you're saying the labeling, the censorship.
Yes.
That's what you were saying. The Tipper Gore is the censoring. If you want to confuse the fuck out of anybody, use that reference.
Yeah. And it's that's how old I am. So, and with the advent of of people monitoring the internet and saying there's bad things, more people were in favor of sticking that parental discretion is advised sticker basically on stuff on the internet. So
honestly, though, as a parent, I'm okay with that, like, kind of censorship, because it lets me know in advance without having to do a buttload of research on something if this is appropriate for my children or not. And that is like, it's a huge thing, especially when like stuff comes out,
yeah,
like especially like think about movies, music, if it's TV shows, the parental guidance advised on TV shows, it's super helpful. I appreciate the work. Did she go about it the wrong way and try to censor a bunch of bullshit? Absolutely. Are people
well,
allowed to make decisions for their children that are terrible anyway? Absolutely.
well,
But
I can agree. I can totally agree with that because, like you said, apparently being a parent involves a shit ton of research because you got to know what crib's not going to kill your baby. You got to know what cartoon is not going to tell your baby to stick a fork in a light socket. All that stuff.
you got to
Because
be
babies are
careful
good.
about subliminal messaging. You got to be careful
Yeah.
about, like, something as simple as kids YouTube. All the kids YouTube videos that were up, there were a ton of predatory comments and predatory
Oh yeah.
people that were involved in the comments. So like the regular chat stuff for like kids YouTube, there was a lot of subliminal messaging with like the videos that were being put out that were considered kid content, but because they didn't have swearing or like real nudity in it, it was introducing things to children that is like, there is a line that should be drawn on innocence versus reality. I get that kids are going to get the bump in the head and life sucks. It's going to come.
But there's a thing.
There's a time and a place for it. Yes, grooming. Yes. Ooh.
And
fetish fishing. Fetish fishing is also a thing that happens to many people, not just children. But child YouTube was scary AF. I'm just saying. Yes. And I would not have known without all the other parents who were like, hey, watch out for this shit because, oh my God. And I'm like, fuck.
I want to give a mad shout out to Chris Hansen over at To Catch a Predator for bringing that to America's forefront.
Shout out my man.
Well, you got to think about this. Before To Catch a Predator, people never realized that people were meeting people online. They never even thought about that because it's just when, you've just seen the age of computer dating. You never even thought that, a kid would communicate with someone who would be disguised as a kid and meet them someplace.
It's not even that. It's people who were coming in as figures of like comfort, figures of like, understanding or companionship or I understand where you're coming from. Oh, you had a bad day. It's the person that they run to instead of their parent, and they build a bond with them that eventually they turn and manipulate into something sexual. Because once you establish a bond with a child, it is very easy for them to see you as that parental figure and that like person in their life that they want to please. And kids who are not aware of what is happening in, or people who are naive or kids who are naive are the people that get taken, the people that get kidnapped, the people that get sold into, child slavery or, the sex slaves, that's the sexual trap. That's
And
but anyways, we digress. Some serious shit. The point of it bring it back in, bring back the happy place. Censoring shit on fucking YouTube and the internet. There's no way they'd let weed on there. Point made.
and that's the thing. I'm not hating on any platform for having standards for their terms of service.
Well, and a lot of it's legal anyway. It's not the actual individual business owners being able to make that decision for themselves. It's the government saying, if you do this, you will get fucked.
Exactly. And that's
no, thank you.
As a business owner, I can't fault a person for not doing something or not allowing something to be done that would cause them massive legal issues. I'm totally all about that. But don't tell me you're going to do it and then don't do it. But yeah, I got it.
Shoulder Devil says, fuck that shit.
That's one of the things that I try to keep in mind when we do our broadcast is that, the stuff that's normal to me with no kids in a 10-mile radius. Okay. Everybody here is over 65. There's things that, that I do on a regular basis that freaking I can't do around kids. I shouldn't be like burbity, 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 around kids. It's not going to hurt them, but that's not the thing to expose children to. That's not my place.
There has been research done that says that cannabis introduced at too early of an age, as far as THC goes, can affect the developing brain. So, it's not necessarily like secondhand. It's not, there's still research being done on how this affects people because it's still being legalized and it's still being investigated on what the effects are, especially for minors. But it's a whole other thing.
And I think
let's get back to how your yard is not even kid friendly because you found a dead body. You remember that shit?
Oh,
it's not even that there's not kids around. Your yard isn't even safe.
Yeah. I could be living on top of an Indian burial ground, looking at you, talking to you, Peter Griffin.
Yeah.
But yeah. And you know what though? It's bringing it back in. There's a lot of things that I have learned as far as seeds and clones and stuff like that. And one of the most important things that I have learned, aside from peroxide, aside from spray bottles, aside from making yourself more efficient, is that
community.
I don't know. It was wicked. It went out of my head right then.
It's about community. You need people who know and people who walk the path before you. And I think that there's that element of experimentation. That's the element of common sense. There's the element of research, sure. But a lot of cannabis growing comes from people who did it before you and their parents did it before them or whatever. Somehow they got into it and they made all the mistakes before you and they're trying to divulge the information that you can't find in textbooks. I mean, now, sure, there's like a lot of advice in textbooks and available information. But even then, still, without somebody to consult, without somebody to talk to about what you're doing, it's almost impossible to just, go the straight and narrow, to correct, to learn. You need community for that. Period.
And when I first started growing, I had the wrong mindset. I was thinking, what the fuck are these people telling me to do? I just spent a shit ton of money, and now you're coming in here telling me I didn't need to spend that money? Get the fuck out of here. But the thing was, I was looking at it the wrong way. They weren't telling me that because they're like, fuck that guy. They're telling me that because they wanted me to succeed. And I didn't know that because I hadn't gone down the long, painful road of messing things up and learning valuable lessons. And all they were trying to do is save me from learning those costly lessons and losing time. And now I would even call myself an experienced grower. I would call myself an intermediate. And all those people were trying to do, and all we're trying to do here, is save people time and money. Because I got to tell you, in the time that I've been growing, I've wasted so much money, whether it be on stuff that I had to fix because of operator error or because I did stuff incorrectly, or because I wasn't keeping up with my schedule. A lot of your grow problems are going to be operator error, but never fear. There's almost always a way to correct what you've done.
Right. See, I think of growing as like as a Candyland, right? You get to the end, you got to start all the way the fuck. You still got to go through the same path. You still got to pick the cards. And all those people were trying to do is tell you to take the fucking licorice road, bro. Go around the swamp. Go around the swamp. You're gonna have to come back
here. and really, that's all it was. And that's why a lot of times I never offer people grow advice unless they ask.
Really? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's pearls before swine. We're gonna get biblical here. Well, you can't give people shit they're not asking for. They're not gonna listen to you.
Well, I see your kid yelling in the grocery store. At no time am I going to walk up to you and be like, hey, you need to slap your kid. What I'm going to do is I'm probably going to... No, I'm not going to do that because I will be going directly to jail. What I'm going to do is either A, I'm going to engage with that kid, or I'm going to freaking talk to him. And I'm going to find some type of method to quiet and in play. Because I got to tell you, I was that kid at the grocery store. And the thing is, most time kids just want attention. If someone's paying attention to them, they'll shut the hell up.
It's true. But
who am I to tell them what to do with their kids?
Right? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to help out where I can. I'm going
to
show you that I know some shit.
If they came up to me and asked me, like, look, you see this kid screaming over here.
You see this fucking kid over here? What I fucking do?
What should I do? I will have a whole laundry list of suggestions for them to do. Some good, some not so good. But until they make that move and say, what should I do? I'm just going to shut the hell up.
For
Because
those of you that don't know, me and Slizwhack know each other IRL. We've been friends for quite some time.
Oh, so long.
And when I brought my oldest baby over to hang out and meet Mr. Slizwhack and Auntie Kel, he put the baby to sleep, but the baby put him to sleep.
I love babies.
They had a baby nap on that couch for hours.
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah. One day we're going to have an episode called Old Cars That We Have Owned, and you're going to have to tell them about your old Jeep Cherokee.
You put that back in your pocket right now. You put that back in your pocket. You shut it.
No, I got mad respect for that vehicle. That vehicle, no matter what, it would cough and puke and get you to where you need to go. Maybe not as fast as you would like, but you get there.
Oh, God.
It's one of those cars, never leave you stranded. Might take you 2 hours to get somewhere, but never leave you stranded.
Do you remember my Mustang before Nate wrecked it?
I do.
That sexy beat.
I
so
know,
mad about
right?
that. Still mad about that.
There's a guy that freaking lives in our old town. He has a Mustang just like that. White with the freaking with the brown top.
With the rag top.
Yeah, he just finished fixing it up. He put all new upholstery in it. Freaking bought some wheels for it. Reminded me of you.
Dude, that Mustang, there's nothing like if you have the opportunity at some point in your life to own own a rag top, own a convertible in a warm climate, there is nothing like driving down a highway at full speed with top down and feeling that warm air, the stars, having the music blaring. It is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
10 out of 10 would recommend for anybody.
I want to take this time to apologize for having a motorcycle that I had to start up every morning in that little freaking alley and it'd be bouncing off my garage.
Dude, I am like the most, like, I don't understand why people get upset about sleep stuff. I don't, and I feel like I should. I feel like I should relate at some point in my life, but I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep sitting up. I can sleep through anything. I can nap at any time I want to. People who get upset about phone calls, and I'm like, why? Like, just ignore it, turn it off, like, go back to sleep. There are people out there who cannot sleep, and I feel for you because sleeping is one of my favorite pastimes. I never regret a nap in the middle of the day in the full sunshine, all snuggled up and warm and like cozy and like, I'm not going to do anything I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm going to nap. Never regret it.
Now, tell me as a new grower, as a person, new to the grow scene, that's ready to embark on their grow journey, what do you envision is going to be the hardest or the most difficult barrier for
space?
And yeah,
even as
intermediate growers, space is the issue.
So I have designated space, and we recently legalized recreational and medical, but there are very strict laws on growing, and it requires a lock and key, closed space, and you have, like, for me, that would be in my basement because all of my upstairs space is livable. All of my downstairs, my basement is unfinished. So, but we get a ton of mice down there. So we've got rodent infestation. It's cold AF in the winter. And outdoors is not really an option because our grow season is like maybe 3 months, maybe. So even if I'm starting from a clone, it's possible, but there's freak storms all the time. Like even in April, I think we moved here in April and we had a freak snowstorm like mid-April. So, like snow is still melting off here. It's that is my biggest concern. My secondary concern is everything we have is electric. And if I have to add anything electric to the grid we're already operating on, that's
and looking back, you have something available to you right now that is going to, if it was available when I started growing, it would have definitely freaking increased my enthusiasm once a month.
LEDs?
And that LEDs. Let me tell you, I've had at Q Street, we got a power bill that was $4,000 1 month.
You know me. You know how I hold on to cash.
Yeah.
You know me. And when I think about like how to do this, how much it's gonna cost.
Ugh.
I've gone through it. I'm like, oh hell no. Oh
And
hell
that's
no.
and that's where LEDs come in and freaking actually make it accessible for every. And when I say accessible for everybody, I have and this is not the recommended setup, but an entry level setup. I have a 1,000-watt blurple Amazon grow light that is probably the worst thing you can use, and but it will grow plants. It will give you that blurple light will give you probably 50 to 75% of the yield of a HPS or a metal halide.
Why do you hate it?
I don't. I hate it because it's. I don't hate it. It's probably one of the lights that has lasted the longest. But I hate it and I love it because I know the plants that are grown under it could get more light. There are better lights available.
Okay.
There are more efficient lights available, but I can run that light on an 18-and-6 cycle, and it will only cost me another $4 a month. So,
see, one of the most exciting things I've seen when it comes to growing is being able to find lighting in Home Depot that specifically said for growing. And they're not talking about tomatoes because people have been growing
hey-o.
tomatoes since day one. So when they're talking about grow light, they were cashing
Yes.
in on that. They were saying the cannabis community is valuable. People who are growing are valuable. We're going to legalize here soon. Grow light.
And that's one of the reasons that's that normalization thing kicking in.
Yep.
I can buy grow lights on Amazon. I can buy them at Home Depot. I can buy them at any freaking Ace True Value.
But see, I feel like they're the same thing as buying a freaking camera. A camera. Any review you get is going to be there's an equal and exact opposite review that's available online. So when you're looking at something, buying something like that, and lights are, I feel like, one of the biggest overhead costs, upfront costs that you get with cannabis because of the ongoing maintenance costs and the actual upfront cost. It is so important to talk to somebody with experience when you're looking at something like that because people who actually grow are going to give you the real skinny on it. It's not the Amazon reviews that are bought and paid for. It's not the
Yeah.
people being shitty because they want to be shitty. It's not the person who had a bad day and is like, fuck this light, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not the person who doesn't know how to use it and get it the correct, yield out of it. It's the person who actually, is going to give you the facts, the skin. I feel like we need a whole like podcast on lights, man. I feel like that is like growing is half lights.
Yeah,
Half of it is lights.
that's the thing. And a lot of people ask me, how do I determine what growth thing I need? Whether it be light, whether it be nutrient. The thing that I recommend that they do first is make a list of what their requirements are.
Right. What is the bare minimum actually needed to make a decent
Exactly.
grow? Absolutely.
Screw the reviews for now.
Mm-hmm.
Make a list of what you need and go and read that manufacturer's description and see if it matches up with what you need.
Right, because you're talking about the formula for how many plants, how much light, how much water, how much space, how much airflow. There's an actual formula for when
Yes,
you're doing
absolutely.
indoor grow, which is why outdoor grows is obvious because
Exactly.
it's free.
But it's
The
like you
sun is
said, it's
free.
not available to everybody
Right.
because of their location. It's, I grow outdoors a little bit, but it takes a lot extra to grow outdoors up here. Matter of fact, this coming week, I'm going to set up my greenhouse
And
outdoors.
see, I would need some sort of indoor grow or some sort of outdoor greenhouse, but permanent in order to be able to do a year round. If I want to avoid
Yes.
all of the pitfalls that are in my actual area, I could do growing in indoor. I would have to have a greenhouse situation, but year round. I would have to have a year round
Yes.
greenhouse, or I would have to figure out a great cycle to be able to time my clones, my seeds, and then move them outdoors. But I would still have to abide by regulation that's in my store
Exactly.
for personal grows, which I mean is awesome that it was thought of and available and that they're trying to be safe. But in
And I
somebody like
recommend if you're in a legal state,
pay
do it
attention.
legally. Yeah, do
Well,
it legally.
if you guys do not know, and if you're curious about your state's laws or any state's laws, you can sign up for a mailing list. For me, specifically for my state, I signed up through the governing body of the state that was going to be overseeing cannabis sales or cannabis regulation. It was at one point different from the medical, but once they switched over to recreational, the email followed, which was pretty awesome. So you don't even
Yes.
have to do any extra work. You don't have to like
Yes.
Google. You can get information straight from the horse's mouth with all of the regulation available. They're more than happy to send you that information. Also, you
Absolutely.
can also sign up for your local laws that they're trying to push through that you don't know about. So be
Absolutely.
informed.
Be
Sign up
informed.
for the email.
Now, my second question as a new grower,
Yeah.
based on what we talked about today, what do you think when you make your move to do your grow, based on the information we've talked about today, what do you think is the most important thing that you've gleaned from, the seeds versus clone spiel?
I think clones. I mean, it's kind of a bummer for me because I'd really like to just like get a seed from something really cool. Because I don't know if anybody's done this. Maybe you shouldn't if you're looking to get into growing. But if you look at a seed catalog, if you go on
Oh,
any of the
don't look at
websites,
the seed catalog. Don't look at the seed catalog.
if you have a problem with window shopping or you have FOMO or you get like super excited about something, you glom onto something, do not do that. Look at what is local. Do not do what I
Yeah.
did because in my brain, I'm going to have this beautiful black, like Northern Lights, whatever.
Oh, the pictures are so awesome.
There's this like black and red one, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And
I think more importantly, what the window shopping did help with though is realistic expectations because you can research what plants do well in climate. And that was
yes,
important for me. My
yes,
problem
okay.
is that I'm pretty sure it's indica that does better in cold climate and not sativas. And sativas are what I want.
And see, that's an important what you're doing is an important part of the pre-planning process. You know that you want sativas, but you already know that based on your area and stuff, you're gonna have to make some adjustments to whatever you do to get what you want.
In a
And that goes
hybrid
back.
that is indica grow
Now you're
characteristics that
talking,
gives me the
and that's the
sativa.
thing.
Boom.
And it's disappointing, but that's one of the reasons why hybrids are so popular. With the
Mhm.
mixture, you can find a hybrid with the proper ratio that will give you what you want, no matter where you live. There's drought resistant freaking weed plant. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? There's weed plants that are resistant to low temperature.
Mhm.
With all of the technology available to the weed industry right now, there's so much experimentation going on because it wasn't available to you. It wasn't even really able to be talked about. But now that it's out in the open, and to be quite honest with you, it's one of those genie out of the bottle situations.
Mhm.
Now that marijuana is getting legalized, not only legalized, but normalized in a lot of states,
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to stop that.
Right.
It
And
may
even
take some time.
the thing that I say all the time is if you have somebody who is hard against cannabis and your state is at least medical approved, you should have a conversation with them about how they're benefiting from it. Whether they like it or not, there is a benefit to doing it. And when you think about it, like you can be against alcohol, but alcohol sales still happen in your state. I equate it
Absolutely.
to alcohol a lot because alcohol did go through a prohibition and alcohol is something that puts you under the influence that is normalized in our culture. So I feel like looking at cannabis as alcohol, I don't feel like they're the same at all. I feel like there's a lot of benefits that you get and there is no medical reason for alcohol besides sterilization.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of like cooking uses and other things that
exactly.
are with alcohol, but as far as cannabis, it's not apples to apples. It's not a good comparison. But as far
Exactly.
as legalization goes, as far as prohibition goes, as far as something that's culturally acceptable that does alter your brain state that people are concerned about, I feel like it should be pointed out on a regular basis for people who are anti-cannabis. You're still benefiting from it. You don't have to like it. You don't
Yes.
have to buy it. You don't have to do anything with
Yeah.
it. But if it's
I'm not a
legal,
big
you're going to benefit from it.
Yeah, I'm not a big alcohol drinker. I
Mhm.
don't freaking I probably used to drink more than I should, but I don't, this alcohol's not my thing. I'd rather smoke
Mhm.
weed. There's no hangover.
Mhm.
But when those alcohol taxes, and one of the reasons why I super appreciate the alcohol, the metaphor you're using right now, is because the alcohol commission is the same organization that governs cannabis in the
In
state of
many
Florida.
in many states, it is the same. The alcohol, tobacco, whatever commission is the same person that's going to be handling the recreational, which is ideal because there's already laws set in place for all of the concerns that people have about cannabis.
Exactly.
Alcohol's regulated. Alcohol's readily available. You have alcohol in your home and your kids can get a hold of it. Same thing with cannabis. It's not that weird when you think about something that's already, which I think is a great segue. It's a great bridge to say, well, you benefit from alcohol sales and you're against alcohol. What's the difference difference between cannabis and alcohol. If
Absolutely.
alcohol is being recreationalized or it's already medically approved, you're still benefiting from it whether you like it or not. And it's something that can benefit you. For me personally, actually, we're part of an electric co-op. So
Okay.
it's a bunch of people who share responsibility for, this stuff. Everyone who pays in is getting, you can actually get like returns if you make your payments on time. It's a
Okay.
whole thing. So,
Yeah.
oh, I like it. Oh, I like it. Spicy. So our co-op sent out a letter today, or sent out their like quarterly magazine or whatever, and it had
Okay.
cannabis on the front because there are co-ops now, or there are co-ops who now have grows on the grid, and I'm sure that's a concern. Okay, so now we have this huge, new thing that's taxing our grid for our electricity. We're part of this. What is their percentage? What's their share? And the whole article is about how having a grow in your co-op is actually beneficial, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. You know what I mean? Like it's a normalization thing that I would never have in my wildest dreams thought. Your electric company is sending out a magazine with a cannabis plant on the front. That's freaking cool, man. That
I
is
would have
like,
never. Yeah. And see, what I ask a lot of people is that are against cannabis, I ask them one question: how many pills do you take a week?
how many times have you taken ibuprofen in your life? Do you know the side
Yeah.
effects for ibuprofen? Do you know the damage that overdosing once on ibuprofen can have on you? And that's something that's over the counter that your kids can buy. Like,
Well,
it's
that's the thing. I can't go at them like that because I'm a pretty wild west guy. I do a lot of dangerous and illegal shit on a regular basis. So if I hit them up like that, they're gonna be like, What about the other day? You're fucking doing 120 down the fucking highway. What about that?" And I relate to him in a real sense. What if I told you that there was a thing that may help with little to no long lasting health side effects?
The worst thing that you can do if you're ingesting cannabis in any way, shape, or form is go to sleep and then wake up high. Like that's could happen,
Exactly.
but
It
that's like
happens
the
all the time.
extreme. Yeah, that's the extreme. That's the extent of it. Unless there's like variables that are obviously not the norm. Like you can get bad cannabis, you can get cannabis that's laced with something. You can
And there's
try,
there's
yeah,
people that are allergic and people that have bad reactions. You
but
know what
it's
I'm
not the
saying?
norm. Yeah, it's a percentage.
Exactly.
Just like there's a percentage of people in the population who have alcoholism genetically. There's a
Yeah.
percentage of the people who can be allergic to a plant. That's common sense.
Wait, hold on. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Are you saying that there's a possibility in the future that there could be a generation of people predisposed to cannabis addiction? That would be awesome.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that genetics determine whether you're allergic to something or not, and you won't know that until you try it.
Well, no, because if I'm addicted to something, cannabis is probably it's right up there with coffee. You don't want to be addicted to anything, but if I got to be addicted to something, I'll take that.
I'm saying that in genetics, alcoholism is a
Yes.
genetic trait that you have. And you won't know that you have alcoholism unless you're well aware of your family's history with it, or you understand it through trial and error. Just like a
Yeah.
cannabis allergy, or like a bee allergy. Let's go with bee allergy instead of alcoholism. With a bee allergy, you won't know until you get stung, but it can affect you. So
Yes.
just like a cannabis allergy can exist, it's something
Exactly.
that can happen. People are allergic to wheat. It's a gluten intolerance. Not everybody has it, but it can happen
Yeah.
and it sucks.
It's one of those
There's a
things.
lot of shit in your genetics that can affect what you partake in and what you do not partake.
So let's talk about what did we learn today? What did when we in this talk about seeds versus clones, which is right for me? Are seeds better? Are clones better? What do you think the takeaway from this is?
I don't
I have an idea.
know.
Based on
You
your
gonna tell me what
situation.
I know, Ricky Bobby? Don't tell me what I know.
Oh, well, no, based on your situation, seeds and clones are equally helpful. But just like the gun versus knife situation, one in some situations, one will work better than the other.
Okay,
You have to determine
I've got
what
my
the
gun from a
situation.
gunfight.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
I've got my gun from a gunfight. Okay. So what I took away was clones are ideal, and I should network more in my local community, because if I want a healthy clone, probably gonna have to go somewhere local. I don't really know people who do grows right now. So, or at least not locally. I know a lot of people who grow, not locally. So I should
Okay.
work on networking to be able to know which which local shops are going to be doing that, and or who I could become friends with in order to benefit from that ability in the future. Not saying I'm just looking for a freebie, but I would know somebody who does grow that I could be like, hey, can I buy some clones from you,
Now
friend?
that's a kick-ass and unique take that I wasn't really expecting, because I got to be honest with the cannabis community is built on people helping other people. There's yes, there are people out there that are strictly in the cannabis industry for money, but at the end of the day, there's quicker ways to make money. There's easier ways to make money, and there's more legal ways to make money. But at the end of the day, you'll find in the cannabis industry, and I've been in a couple different industries. I've been in the sales industry. I used to sell vacuum cleaners door to door. I've worked at a steel mill, freaking being in the sheet and tin union. I've been in the military. There's, I've freaking done a couple of different things, but there's no industry where the best thing for the industry is networking, togetherness, and community. And the big thing about that is that the people in the industry understand that, and they try to espouse that to lift up the industry as a whole. And that's one of the most unique things that I have found about this industry. And I fucking love it.
Mm-hmm. You can feel it anywhere you are. Like, people always look at it as like the hippy dippy attitude. And I mean, sure, that's like where the pop culture reference originated from. But the cannabis community has been, for the most part, for the last like 100 years, underground and community oriented. Because unless you knew a person who knew a person who knew a person, you weren't going to get shit. And you had to be cool to do it, because then we're just going to let any fucker walk in through the door.
Yes, bring your crochet pants ass over here.
You had to know somebody who knew somebody to know somebody to be able to get what you wanted. And in order to do that, there had to be trust. There had to be respect. There had to be unity. There had to be, I'm not going to turn on you and be a dirty rat and fuck you over. There had to be some level of like, we're one. So, I think that just kind of carries on in a different way.
And I hope, and one of our goals is to continue to espouse that freaking goal of unity and information sharing. We're just now, instead of doing it in a smoke circle, we're doing it on the internet. Hey,
we're networking with a Russian in freaking Russia who is a YouTuber who's been doing it for like a decade plus. We're going to get some fascinating information from him in a different perspective on a global situation. We've got our friend out in Texas who's fighting the good fight on the front lines of legalization out there, dealing with still arrests for legal grows, still dealing with people who are trying to overturn legalization regulations that are happening, people who are still spreading misinformation. I mean, there's still people all over who, even in this day and age, where it shouldn't be happening, where everybody, realistically, if it was put to a vote in every state, medical would be across the board, in my opinion. I mean, look at Arizona. Arizona's lawless. They don't even talk about daylight savings time. They don't even go with that. Like, the one state in the union who's like, fuck daylight savings time. Arizona's crazy, but they still legalized.
And, don't get me wrong.
No offense, Arizona. There's a lot of fantastic things about you. You're a beautiful state. There's some fantastic things.
There's a lot of people that I talked to in Texas, and the bad part is they see a lot of the bad side of the weed business, and that's why they are 100% against the weed. They get to see
the border.
They get to see on a daily basis. Forget about freaking whether you like weed or not. You got a guy that they give him a 45-pound brick of weed and a potato sack with 2 ropes on, and expect him to carry that across the border through a literal mini desert in Texas. And now they see that, and yes, they see people breaking into their country. But what I want to put out there is that that's still a person. And what I mean is, while I don't want people to do illegal things like that, I don't want people to give the weed business a bad name. What hurts my heart is when I hear, from the Texas news that they found 8 people dead freaking trying to cross the border with weed bricks strapped to them. And they see that a lot.
Well, and that's just it. Look at it from the perspective of capitalism. If you flood the market with legal and easy and obtainable and quality, then it's going to drive out the illegal, the poor quality. Nobody wants to smoke brick weed. Nobody even knows what's in that shit. People smoked it because it was illegal. So if you stop that illegal and go with like the wonderful things that could benefit your state, taxes, get your fucking electricity grid infrastructure sorted out, Texas.
Fuck you, Texas. Shout out to Kristen LaFrance. We got much love for you down there.
Shout out to our Texas peeps, because we know what the struggle you're going through is, and that's some Duke booty bullshit. And yeah, there is a dark side to any illegal activity. So look at what legalization could do for that. If you're mad about it, do something about it. What is legalization going to do? It's going to fucking capitalize the bullshit out of that.
Well, I have some family down in Texas, and they live probably within 10 miles of the border. And they, on a monthly base, couple, 3 people dead, freaking,
that's gotta be so.
And when they hear about the weed business, for a long time, they didn't want to hear anything from me about the weed business, because from what they understood, I'm killing people in the desert by their house.
Right.
But in talking to them, they understand now that with all of the legalization, we're trying to get rid of that. Like you said, we're trying to flood the market, and we're trying to stop it being profitable to do illegal business in the
the cartels. Let's cut the cartels at the knees. That's a freaking bonus right there. Exactly. Make Mexico inhabitable again for all the poor people who live in the cartel-owned states. I mean,
because I got to tell you, if I was making $10 a month and the guy said, "Hey, check this out. If you carry this package and you deliver it, I will give you $500.
Right.
Now, $500 is not a lot for Americans to put their life in danger.
50 times what you're making a month. That's the numbers you should put in your brain. 50 times what you're making a month. You're going to say no? I don't fucking think so.
There's not a lot of carrying stuff that I wouldn't do if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, check this out. How much you making a month? I'm going to give you 50 times this to carry this package." I wouldn't do it, but I would think about it.
And that is one of the biggest things too, is that one of the things that our buddy Kingstree is out in Canada and out in Texas doing is looking from his roots, where he grew up in the hood and he was slinging illegal because it was an opportunity for him as a kid who was a natural hustler to make an income. And so he's looking specifically at targeting those communities that he's familiar with that do that kind of thing, in order to turn that situation around for his community that he cares about. So that's a whole other side that I think people don't even look at, is the potential for what legalization could do to communities like that who are influenced the most in the cannabis world, especially when it comes to underground. And look at the new opportunities that you could be creating. We always talk about turning grower into a legit business, because it takes so much knowledge and expertise to be able to do that in a commercial way that can be replicated. Think about all of the kids who have that natural hustle ability, who could become business owners instead of slinging for somebody else, or funneling the money back to the cartels across the border. Or that's not just happening in the United States and Mexico either. That's happening in the UK, where cannabis is still illegal. They have tons of huge grow operations that are uncovered, where it's migrant labor who is smuggled into the country to do this because there's a market there for the illegal trade. So it's not just happening in our neighborhood. It's happening everywhere. Everywhere cannabis is illegal, that exists.
I want to reiterate to people that are in the weed business, legal or illegal, okay, are still in a business. At the end of the day, especially if you're doing it illegally, the object is to create cash. And they perform on a daily basis. A person that runs an illegal weed operation, not going to tell you how I know this, but the person that runs an illegal weed operation performs the same function as a CEO or the president of any company. The functions are still the same. At the end of the day, it's still a business. And what I mean is, they had to do something based on their access to things to create cash. That being said, I'm not condoning it. I recommend that everybody do legal business. But what I'm saying is, they have a skill. You have to have skills in order to make that machine run. And if their business was a legal business, they would require the exact same skill. You can't be a dummy and be in the weed business, because you'll be broke or broke.
100%. think of all of the situations that, or think of all of the natural entrepreneurship talent that you're not tapping into.
Absolutely.
as a business owner when you're thinking about kids who are kids who are hustling. If we could turn those communities around by approaching the thing that ties them,
Yes.
the culture that talks about cannabis, the culture that promotes kids going to work at an early age because of hardships, financial hardships in the family, single parents who get into that kind of trade. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people don't think
Yes.
about, a lot of social injustices that could be righted by legalizing cannabis. It's such a bigger picture. It's a drop in the bucket that turns into ripples, and it can
Absolutely.
only be beneficial. And we've seen that. It can only be beneficial.
Absolutely.
And on that happy note, I'm ready to fuck for bed. I
We're
don't know
gonna
about
wrap it up
you.
here. Let me get this outro in. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Pepper and Smoke podcast. You can stay connected with us directly through our contacts, which will be listed below. All of our contact information will also be displayed in the liner notes. And if you would like to speak with us or contact us directly about any grow questions you may have, please feel free to message us at our channel through our DM or send us an email.
We're on Instagram. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitch every Sunday for our live show. So don't forget to tune in. We also do a Thursday live session where you can ask those grow questions live central. We also have a Facebook group that you can participate in for community, because we are all about community. So as we always say, we are here to educate so that you can recreate and medicate responsibly.
Exactly. This concludes the most thought-provoking or confusing part of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay fully up to date. And until next time, puff, puff, pass.